The most intimate thing I ever did for Sonia was to make her a quilt. It was tiny little squares in a pattern, and they were gray and black and white, and just a couple were bright red. And the way the fabrics were chosen is that they had abstract designs, they had notes of music, they had pictures from the 20s. Each one looked like something that said Sonia to me. And there was something that I really treasured about thinking to put that together and being able to make a gift of it. Of the millions of valuable gifts that I got over time from Sonia, the one that completely shook me was, and I don't know why I choose it from among others, but it was when she said to me, and I heard her, "You need a larger stage." And then she gave me one. So those are things that stay with me because they change my life every day. And when I think of how much all of us who have been touched by her continue to carry out into the world, I want to come back to the I done good. That however we translate it through ourselves, we're carrying something out that's better than we ever would have done if we hadn't been influenced in the way that we were.
So nice to share this day with all of you. So I have some things I'm going to read to you. I have 3 reflections that people who can't be here today sent me and asked me to read. So just start. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm Lori Fitzpatrick. I'm managing director here of this organization. Thank you. I meant to remember that. So the first reflection I want to read is by Susan Fisher, our Gestalt review editor. And Susan has already made her way to Europe for the winter, as she does. So the microphone is awkward to hold, isn't it? And I'll try to channel Susan. I don't know if I can quite do that. I kept seeing your face, Sonia. It kept cropping up as I walked in Cambridge or Brookline. It surfaced wherever we had passed together, or I imagined you passing. There you were, after your departure on the 10th of September. Sometimes smiling, sometimes offering up one of your repartee forms of wisdom, true Brooklyn, not Brookline, Jewish humor, for those of us who are weaned on that brand. Sometimes telling me to stop wallowing in whatever I was wallowing in. Very impactful 4-letter word. When I moved into your building in Brookline in 2009, there are 125 units in that building, but it remains for me Sonia's building. You came into my unit, gingerly stepped over the 110 cartons that were blocking the pathway and found a place to sit. I asked you in all naivete, why? I asked you in all naivete why, after having lived for 34 years in the university town where I had taught, could I not remember anything about it? You answered in typically laconic but connected and contactful fashion, making the obvious figural and fresh because you are functioning totally in the present. Sonia, you lived your life in the present and you lived there optimistically. In response to the question, what do you believe makes people optimists? You answered, I think of it as my being willing to try things when I do not know what will happen. I dive into the pool because I want to know what will happen. I do not think about whether it will be good or bad. I think, why not? And you continued, optimism is about having the courage to try things. It is about stepping into something because we hope it will be a good thing without knowing what will actually occur. This is just a snippet of your wisdom in the book you authored with Joe Melnick, forthcoming in 2017. Gave her a plug. I know you will be pleased when it finally appears in print for all of us to savor. Sonia, your death is a deeply cataclysmic event for those of us connected to GISC and for those of us who knew you throughout the Gestalt community and beyond, in whatever capacity. The phrase that keeps coming to my mind, virtually forming a fixed Gestalt, is that of the sense of an ending, the title of a book by Frank Kermode, a 20th century literary critic whose brilliance was said to be genuine. Kermode talks of fictions of the end, about ways in which, under varying existential pressures, we have imagined the ends of the world. He starts with the apocalypse and posits that the great majority of interpretations of the apocalypse assume that the end is pretty near. Consequently, the historical allegory is always having to be revised. Time discredits it. Apocalypse can be disconfirmed without being discredited. This is part of its extraordinary resilience. Sonia, and I see your eyes disappearing as you smile. Your passing may be one of those so-called fictions of the end, signaling the closure of a cycle, but your extraordinary apocalyptic resilience will remain eternally present to propel the cycle anew. May peace be upon her. Aleha ha shalom. I miss you all. Susan Fisher. The next reflection I'd like to share came from South Africa via Chantel Wiley and from the African Gestalt community there. Picture a traditional fireplace at the center of an African homestead. Sitting around the fire are young and old alike, listening intently to the voice of a silver gray-haired old lady telling them enthralling stories that get their imaginations racing wild, conjuring up futures and possibilities not yet realized. Sonia Nevis had this kind of impact and much, much more for some of our organizational communities across Africa. It was a common sight during the Cape Cod model training programs, for example, in Cape Town, to see members of our community gathered around her wherever she was. She was a magnet for engagement and an agent of awareness par excellence. She would throw in a nugget of wisdom in the form of a statement or a question that left us reflecting on for weeks and months ahead. Sonia did not touch our lives. She positively transformed many of them with her magical presence. Her spirit, her energy, and her impact continue to live in us today across our beautiful African organizational landscape. We will keep the fires of expansive imaginations and deeper awareness burning long after the memories of your voice and smile are gone, Sonia. Thank you for your life's work in and through us. You have now been elevated to ancestor. The cycle continues. We will keep lighting more fires wherever we go. And this was written by Dumisani Magadlela on behalf of the African Gestalt community with love and appreciation.